This is the Hope Not Note podcast,
where we answer your questions and share inspirational stories to fill your soul with hope.
Our mission is to empower hope to those who have been plagued by nope.
I'm Dr. Dylan Caswell.
And I'm Brandy.
And we're here to bring you out of the nope and into hope.
Welcome to the Hope Not Note podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really excited about the question this week.
Ooh.
All right, so it is from a listener named Ty. And Ty says, I was listening to your podcast about keeping your faith as a student athlete, and it brought up a loaded question.
Okay.
So he apologizes in advance, but this is what he asked.
Oh, this is going to be good.
How am I supposed to act as a Christian athlete? I'm a different animal when I compete, and I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to balance that.
I immediately think of one of my buddies who is like the nicest dude, but incredibly competitive.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Picked out of bowling leagues for trash talking old dudes, like pickleball, tearing it up.
Yells at the other like old ladies he plays pickleball with when they're slacking.
Yeah, just extremely competitive. And it's a great question because I feel like sometimes it almost seems like it's two things pulling at you. The like, I know the values and the commandments, and I know how I'm supposed to act as a Christian athlete, but in this space, I just don't know if I can do that, or I don't know how to do that. And I think it's more common than what people would think, and it's something that a lot of Christian athletes will discern, wrestle with, of like, man, I know who I am on the field, and that person gets the job done really well, but I don't know if I like the way that they're doing it. And it takes a very special person to, one, be aware of that, but then two, recognize that, hey, I'm trying to live out my Christianity in every facet of life, and this is an area that I'm not doing it in because I'm cursing, I'm trash talking, I'm screaming at the ref, I'm throwing hissy fits on the sidelines, I'm not good to be around, I'm in this zone. And I think part of it is this idea that, like, we know in the world that you have to be very extreme. It's very dogmatic. It's all the way this way or all the way that way. And I think sports, it's kind of created this narrative that to be the best, like for example, a wide receiver in football, that you have to be incredibly swaggy. You have to have a lot of drip. You have to be the best at trash talking. You got to have that personality in order to be successful. And it happens to be that a lot of receivers that are successful have that. But there's also a lot of other receivers that aren't like that. You know, I think of like Larry Fitzgerald, Julio Jones, Hines Ward back with the Steelers. Like these guys, like Calvin Johnson, like incredible receivers, and they had a confidence about them that they didn't need all the other stuff around them. I'm sure they had some of it, but from watching them play in the videos and interviews I've watched of them, they didn't have this like, I need to have like diamond teeth and 5 chains and the ego with it.
Yeah.
They were good, and egos were created around them, but I don't think they necessarily had that ego, especially like Larry Fitzgerald and Julio and some of these, like Hines Ward, like one of the best blocking receivers in the NFL that like I've ever seen. In fact, I tell our young receivers, like, you want to learn how to stalk block, go watch Hines Ward. Like, he was selfless. He was like, yeah, I'm going to get my catches, but like right now I need to go block. I'm going to go make the best block that I can and spring my running back because I'm about a team, and I'm willing to sacrifice what I want in order for my team to do well. And Christianity, like, there it is. So I think it's a great question. It's a lot of athletes wrestle with this. So we'll provide a few tips that we found to help an athlete that is wrestling with this. So I think first it's identifying, are you an athlete that happens to be Christian, or are you a Christian that happens to be an athlete? Yeah. And getting that priority straight allows the behavior to then reflect that decision.
I think you should say that again, because that was just like so smooth and beautiful and like, ooh, I liked it. So say it again.
Say it again. are you an athlete that happens to be Christian, or are you a Christian that happens to be an athlete?
Mhm.
Get that priority straight. And that will help you in your decision making and how you act, how you prepare, how you deliver your behaviors on the field. So I think that's first, number one. I think the second part is that we don't have to conform to the world. And St. Paul tells us that in Romans 12 too, don't conform to the world.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like we see these shows, we see these athletes, and we see the extremeness, we see the trash talking. I'll admit, like it's kind of funny, like
Yeah.
the trash talking,
Can be entertaining.
but there's a way to do it appropriately and to have fun with it versus like name calling or belittling other
Mhm.
people. And yeah, there's a lot of temptation to do that. We face it a lot in our business of like things that we see that we're like, oh gosh, like that is just so far off.
Mhm.
And you want to like belittle the person, but it's like, no, that's not what we're called to do.
Yeah.
Like we can disagree with the work, but we're not going to call the personhood out in
Mhm.
that because like that's just not a value that we would do
Yeah.
as Christians. So you got to fight that temptation to conform to the pattern of the world that is telling you that you have to be this hard-nosed, trash-talking, angry person
Mhm.
to play the sport. And I know a lot of athletes that are successful in their sport and they play with a lot of anger. They're successful, but they're not healthy.
Yeah.
And we see athletes that are very successful in their sport at the elite level and they participate with joy. And not only are they healthy, but I would honestly say like they tend to perform a little bit better. They perform with ease instead of being this ball of anger
Mhm.
like all the time with it. So I know different athletes have different strategies. They've been through different circumstances. But as a whole, we see like these athletes are healthier when they compete with certainty and knowing where the certainty comes from
Mhm.
versus being in like this anger mode.
I think of like Pacheco. Like
Hmm.
people always talk about Pacheco running angry, but he has this like switch that he's able to run angry, but then he is so joyful. Like every interview, even on the sidelines, like I feel like he is always smiling,
Yeah.
but then he's able to like have that switch. And granted, like I don't know if he's talking smack on the field itself,
Yeah.
but there is something to be said about like the joy that he carries
Hmm.
as an athlete on and off the field as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes such a long way of like, being a light on the team that people want to follow
Hmm.
versus being like this dark, angry storm cloud that
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I'm glad this guy's on my team, or I'm glad this girl's on my team because of like, I don't want to get in their way out there.
Yeah.
But it's not someone that you're like, hey, I want to go get dinner with
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
Except for it is as a Christian athlete because you're like, hey, I want to go talk to you and figure
Yeah.
out and chat with you and
Love
see
on him.
like love
Yeah.
on them and like, hey, are you like curious? Are you interested in this thing that you don't have to be as angry
Yeah.
all the time, like as a friend. So, but again, that's not conforming to the pattern of the world. It's in a
Hmm.
sense of what I've learned is it's confusing the world.
Yeah.
And when you confuse the world, you can make an amazing impact. And we mentioned St. Paul's writing in Romans earlier, and we see the example of it in Acts. I think it's 16:28. I have to recheck that, but it's when St. Paul gets locked up
Mm.
and he gets beaten, he gets thrown in the prison. And what is he doing while he's in that prison? He's singing.
Yeah.
He's singing.
Singing some hymns.
And how could you be singing in that situation? Well, you know where your certainty is.
Hmm.
You know your mission. You know that you're living out your purpose. So when you face adversity, it doesn't derail you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm living out my purpose. Yeah, you can lock me up, you can beat me. I'm joyful about it because I know that I serve a God that's greater than all of this.
Hmm.
And like, this is just the adversity that I need to face. And when athletes can have that, of like the referee's not out to get you personally.
Hmm.
I think some arguments can be made in some cases of like, yeah, they are. But like if you know where your certainty is and you know your purpose and you know your mission and you face that adversity, whether it's from a ref, fan just heckling you, teammate getting after you, like you can stay stable in
Hmm.
that. And that's what St. Paul shows us is like he stayed stable during that. So then earthquake comes and the jails open up, the jail doors open up and he can just escape if
Hmm.
he wants to. And it was back at that time, if you were a prison guard and the jailers they escaped, you would off yourself
Mm.
out of fear and out of like, hey, you didn't do your job.
Mm.
So the prison guard was getting ready to take his own life, and St. Paul is still in the cell, and he goes, "Hey, no, don't do that. Like,
I'm still here.
I'm still here. Like, don't do that." So then, long story short, he ends up getting let out, and then at the end of this, tells them all that he's a Roman citizen
Mhm.
and that he should have been tried in the beginning, and none of that should have occurred. But in doing that and confusing the world, how many more people followed him and
Mm.
wanted to hear the message because he wasn't throwing a hissy fit in the jail cell. He wasn't whining. He wasn't complaining
Mm.
about it. He could have been shaking the cell going, I'm a Roman citizen. You treated me unjust. You treated me unfairly. But instead he said, no, like this is all going to work out for the greater good. And that takes discipline.
Yeah.
That discipline disciple
Hmm.
is in there. Like it takes a special person to understand that they're facing that adversity, but to know who they are to be able to get through that without losing their character.
Yeah. Well, St. Paul is not soft
Yeah.
either. And
Yeah.
I want to make that known, for our listeners who maybe aren't well studied with the Bible. St. Paul is not a soft guy. He was a different animal, if you will, like Ty said in this question. And I think he's a great example of being able to do that balance. And so maybe Ty, maybe dive into scripture and learn more about St. Paul, both the story that Dylan just shared, but just his story in general shows that he was in a lot of ways a different animal. But I think what confuses the world, I think of my own experience of, and granted, I was not perfect and I was just a teenager, but I think of like playing basketball in middle school and high school. I was the type of girl, I loved defense. There's nothing more beautiful than watching like basketball defense, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Well, maybe some, but it's one of my favorite things. I love hard, aggressive defense, and I would play defense hard and steal the balls a ball a lot. I was one of the shorter girls on the team, but because I was so aggressive, I sometimes was put in the post to play defense on the taller, bigger girls because at least like I would try to body them around where like the tall, skinny girls on the team were kind of soft and didn't. And so like I was a different animal in that sense. And I remember playing against one of my friends in a different school, and she was probably 4 or 5 inches taller than me,
Mhm.
and I was just trying to body her around, and we would like go after each other. But then like if I fouled her while she was going up for a shot or whenever the play would stop, we would just look at each other and laugh
Yeah.
and know that this wasn't out of like anger or whatever. It's just like we were competitors, we were competing. But I was always the type of girl, like, no matter how aggressive I was as an athlete, if someone fell, I was helping them up. If the ball like went over there, I would go grab it and give it to the ref. Like I was always trying to still, even if I like lost my composure a little bit, I would always try to reclaim it as soon as I could
Mhm.
in moments that mattered. I loved cheering. I loved encouraging the other team. I loved saying good job or nice shot to the other team. Little things like that. Like you can still have that and be an aggressive or a different animal, like Ty said, on the field or on the court or the pitch or wherever whatever sport you play. And so I know that it is possible, and part of it is just having self-control. Like
Mhm.
self-control is a virtue from God, and really identifying and asking yourself, do you have self-control? And if you don't, how can you have better self-control? And the reality is God is putting you in these situations so that you can learn self-control. That's only going to help you grow as not as a person, not as an athlete, but truly as a person in general for your life.
Oh, beautifully said. And I'm going to say something, and I'm open for pushback
Ooh,
on it.
you do you
So feel
say.
free to push back on this statement. Um, I want to address the different animal piece
Sure.
of it because I think sometimes we look at it and yes, there's a part of it that you have to die to yourself to do the Father's will, right? And that's it. It's like not your own will, it's the Father's will. But in the Father's will, he also wants to honor the desires
Mhm.
that he's placed. So we were created with one mind. we weren't created with one brain.
Hmm.
So we are all united in one mind. And we've talked before on this podcast of the difference between the mind and the brain because they are not synonymous with
Yeah.
each other. The mind and the spirit is what creates the soul. The mind is what gives us intellect and allows us to understand what truth is. And the truth that we understand and the mind that we have is all geared to be towards the one truth
Hmm.
that we have as Christians. The brain is meant to be a little bit different. I'm supposed to pursue different things than what Brandy's supposed to pursue. I'm supposed to pursue different things than what you're supposed to pursue. There's different things that are supposed to light me up and get me excited versus things that get you lit up and excited. There are certain things that call them gifts or talents or traits that I have that the listener that submitted the question, Ty, has that like if you are an all-in type of person, which is what I'm assuming this listener is,
Yeah, sounds like Ty is that way.
like to become a quote unquote different animal, one, we have to deconstruct this idea of like being different in these other scenarios. Like if you're an all-in person, then be all in,
Yeah.
but just direct it towards things that are positive or towards the truth or towards the things that you value.
Hmm.
And so many times I've worked with a lot of athletes because they're in the top 1% for a reason. And it's not because they're willing to do just enough for it to be
Hmm.
good. They're pursuers. They're like more.
Hmm.
Let me do more. Let me do more. And I used to say like, no, we need to pull back. And now I've changed it to, hey, I know you want to do more, so I'm going to give you more.
Hmm.
I want you to be all in on these stillness exercises. You're all in everywhere else. I want you to be all in on this. I want you to be all in on good sleep patterns. I want you to be all in. I want you to take how you were created and use that to your advantage because
Hmm.
if you weren't created in that way, you wouldn't have that advantage.
Hmm.
So let's take that fiery spirit and let's use it, but let's just direct it towards the good.
Hmm.
So like compete with fire. Like don't lose that. Like that's what makes you special as an athlete. That's what allows you to excel past other people is that fire that you have in competing. So becoming or living the values of a Christian athlete doesn't mean that you have to um, be soft.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you need to not play as hard. Like play hard,
Hmm.
compete with fire. Just look for the ways in which supplement that versus take away from it.
Hmm.
So let's say it's football. You hit stick someone, you jack them up. Awesome. Instead of standing over them, flexing and telling them how soft they are, hey, let me help you out.
Hmm.
Like, dude, I can't believe you just took that hit. Here you go. Let me get you back up.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. Like, compete with the fire. It's just the behaviors around it.
Hmm.
Change those. Be all in on that aspect too.
Well, I don't know why you think I would have pushed back on that. I agree completely. I think the language different animal is the language that I was using because that's the language that our listener asked it with, but I agree completely. Different animal is not a trait that I would put underneath someone's name,
Yeah.
but being all in or just like very driven or bold or I don't know, there's just certain personalities that people have that like they're just that type of person. They're a lock-in type of person. They're a winner. They have like a winning drive to them. That's a gift.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And whether it's, you know, you're born with it or it was, you know, your family or whatever that your environment that really cultivated that within you. The reality is you have these certain things that are part of you. You don't have to let go of
Hmm.
that part of you in order to be a Christian. And again, I think St. Paul is a perfect example of that. Look at the scriptures, look at, like for us, we love looking at the Catholic saints who have that certain part of them. There are Catholic saints like Saint Therese. She's all about the little way
Hmm.
and it's all the little things, which is beautiful. I love Saint Therese. Awesome. But there are other saints like Saint Paul who I'm like, yes,
Mhm.
I get it. Like the conviction, the drive, the boldness, the fire, like I relate to that.
Yeah.
I think of James and John in the Bible and them like cat wanting to cast down the fire, all that stuff. I'm like, I relate to that because I have that like fiery like spirit within me. And if our listener who asked this question or any other listeners have that, you don't have to lose that in order to be a Christian. It's how are you directing it to be for God? Your fire should be for God, not for your own pride or your own ego or for me, your own what you think is just. Like that
Yeah.
is not where you should be channeling the fire necessarily. You should be channeling it for God, and you can do that within your sport while still being Christian and having the love that God calls us to
Yeah.
towards other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give two quick examples, and you can jump in on these examples. But
Sure.
just to paint a picture, I'll share from my own experience because I was baptized into the church as an adult, and when I competed as an athlete when I was younger, I didn't have these values. Like I competed hard,
Hmm.
but I was a trash talker, and not a polite trash talker. I would
Hmm.
like dig, and as soon as I knew I was like irritating you, I went in further
Mm.
and like just
You're a little ruthless.
ruthless, just like bad trash talking, but
Hmm.
like competed with a lot of fire. And a lot of my opponents, like we've become friends since then because we both competed in that way of just like all in. And they understood in the long term that like the trash talk we had was because of the competitiveness. But I've realized like, yeah, I could have done that differently
Yeah.
now with the knowledge that I have. So I know myself, like I've grown. And example I'll use is playing in a basketball league, and Brandy and my niece were at this game. There was a ball thrown to like half court, and I went and I just tried to pick the pass, jumped in the air, and I jumped into a 300-pound man that was just solid, and I fell,
Hmm.
jumped in there, boom, hit him flat backed to the ground. Previously, I would have gotten up and been like, "What the heck was that?" Probably called him Tubby, probably said other like hurtful names. And now, when that happened, I got up, shook my head, and was like, "Wow, didn't know you were there, man. Yep, it's definitely your ball." And he started laughing, right?
Yeah.
So like I haven't lost the fire in
Hmm.
competing. I will go for that ball every single time. Doesn't matter the size of the person. I'm going for that
Doesn't
ball.
matter if you're 17 or if you're 32.
Doesn't matter. I'm going in, and I'm like, I'm gonna try to get that ball. I'm not gonna change that fiery competitiveness. I am going to change how I respond to that
Yeah.
after that event happens. And I think another, maybe, I think it's a great example. I think, look at Jameis Winston.
I love Jameis
Like,
Winston.
if you've watched him from college when he was at Florida State
Yeah.
to modern day, and yes, if people are, well, yeah, when he was that way, he won a national championship versus in
Hmm.
the NFL. Like, okay, different scenario, but
Yeah.
like I remember when they won a national championship, like one, Jameis Winston has always been hilarious. But when he was in college, he was getting in a lot of trouble saying a lot of very inappropriate things.
Yeah.
And when he won the championship, I remember him doing the interview, and Florida State had some injuries, and Jameis, the amount of times he said "I" in the interview,
Mm.
like I really played well in that second half. It's basically one of these like to paraphrase of like I put the team on my back though.
Yeah.
Like I did this, I did that, I did that. Oh yeah, the team helped out, but I did this, I did that.
Yeah.
Now he's on Thursday Night Football,
Hmm.
glowing. Oh, thank the Lord for the snow that's coming down. I've always wanted to play in the snow. And like all glory to him, and goes on the McAfee show. And to my knowledge, was the first time that there was like prayer on the McAfee show that Jameis Winston led them all through.
Yeah.
And yeah, he hasn't won a Super Bowl or like another championship in the NFL, but like just the transformation in that. Does he still compete with fire? Yeah. It's like he throws a long ball any chance that he can because of the competitiveness that is in him,
Yeah.
but he's changed the way in which he has interacted with it outside of that. And I think that's the other thing is like we look at people when they're competing and they achieve this incredible thing and they put in the work and this time and effort that nobody sees behind the curtains. And when it happens, the first thing that they say is all glory to God.
Yeah.
Not
100%.
I earned this, I put in the work.
Mhm.
but glory to him that allowed this to happen. Glory to him that gave me the strength to be able to put in the work to do this. Glory to him and all that. And that's a way to confuse the world as well.
Mhm.
Like you just won the Super Bowl, and instead of saying like I achieved my lifelong dream, you say like glory to God.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. And how many more people follow because of that example? So like that is how you can confuse the world as
Yeah,
well.
I love it. So quick recap before I share my hope story, which I is my hope story is honestly an additional tip that
Mhm.
our listeners can use, but with a specific example that I think you'll enjoy. But a quick recap, just be yourself, but ask, are you a Christian and then an athlete, or are you an athlete that's also a Christian? Again, so good. Smooth like butter. And then like don't conform to the world, but make the world curious
Mhm.
and confuse them and really like keep your fire and remain bold, but reflect and ask yourself, how can I still like be Christ-like in this? Any other like recap tips?
No, that's it. And with that, you become hope self-agency goals framework.
Hmm.
You have the goal, you have self-agency because you're asking the question, you want to make the change. And there's part of the framework, and there's more things to that, but those are just kind of the quick ones that we tend to use and have found to be successful
Hmm.
with athletes in this question. So
Awesome.
I think it's hope story time.
Yeah, hope story. I don't want to say every kid is like this. However, I think that I know that I wish more kids were like this. And I know that certain kids, you're at the end of the day, you are a product of your environment when you're
Mhm.
under the age of 10. And so if kids aren't like this, there's environmental things, whatever. Our nephew is hilarious. He is so funny. And during the summer we were visiting my our family back in Pennsylvania, and we just like met at a local park and were playing baseball with our niece and nephew, my sister and her husband. And it was so much fun because you're just kind of soft, they were just soft tossing to all of us and then we'd hit it, and then it wasn't really a game, we were just playing. And the best part of the entire night was watching our nephew trash talk and like try to throw the batter off their game.
Yeah.
But the way in which he did it was so clever and creative, but I feel like it would confuse the world. So I hope that Ty does this. The next time you want to trash talk, you should just say, "Hey, what do you like, peanut butter more or do you like jelly more?" Or hey, what's your favorite color? Like that's what our nephew was doing as the person was about to like swing the bat, because it would get them so confused and like, oh, I like peanut butter better or
Yeah.
whatever. And it was just like, I'm sure you remember more of the examples, but I just remember sitting there and watching my niece get mad because she was like getting flustered by my nephew, but like he wasn't saying like, "Oh, you suck. Like you're not strong enough to swing the bat." He was literally like, Reese's or Three Musketeers?" Like just
Right.
asking these random questions, and I loved it, and it was so creative, and I wish more kids trash talked like that because I've never encountered it, but it is the best trash talk that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Cheese or pepperoni on your pizza?
Yeah. You want to go to McDonald's or would you rather go to Wendy's? Like,
Cheeseburger or hot dog?
yeah,
Like as you're getting ready to bat. Hysterical.
so funny. So, that's my hope story because I don't know if it gets better than
Yeah. Yeah. Just
that.
the pure like competitive spirit, but the pureness and
Yeah.
not putting a person down.
Well, he knew the objective was to knock the person off their game a little bit, but he has no like meanness inside of him. Like
Yeah.
there's no part of him that would ever think to like tell someone that they're trash at a sport.
Right.
Instead, he's just like, okay, how can I throw them off? Well, let me just ask them a random question because that'll throw
Yeah.
them off.
And then the best part, he gets up the bat, and I'm like, okay, let's have fun with this.
Yeah.
Myself, Brandy, his dad, sister, mom, we do it back. We're asking him questions, and he's in the box, focused on answering the question
Yeah, as he's
as
swinging.
he's swinging.
So
It's
good.
like, I'll talk the talk and I'll walk the walk. Like,
Or
oh,
he'll like he'll hear it, he'll swing, hit the ball, and then he'll answer as he's
That's
moving
just
to first. It's like, I love that because I think he thought that, I mean, we did want to know, but he was
yeah.
like, oh, they really want to know the answer too, so let me
Yeah.
tell them.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, love it. Well, thank you for the hope story and thank you for listening. Have a great week and remember, every day is not just a day to be hopeful, but an opportunity to become hope.
The Hope Not Know podcast is meant for educational, informational, and personal development purposes only and does not constitute any health or medical advice. If you're looking for specific advice, connect with us to work with a Hope coach. The Hope Not Know podcast shall not be liable or responsible for any loss or damage allegedly arising from any information or suggestions in this podcast.